What's up, everybody? It's Gerald here again. I tried to record this once already. This is the second time I'm recording it, so there's going to be a bit difference in quality. Because one's shot's early in the morning, this is shot mid morning, not that early. Sun, the sun's already out. Okay, here. Yeah, the sun's already out, so I'm gonna try to get a good shot. But yeah, let's try this again. There's the greenhouse. This greenhouse is 3 meters by 6 meters wide. We made it completely out of wood. It's just made by 2x3s. It's just on the structure, top, beams. We made it just like a form of a house with beams on top, the arches. And yeah, that's it. We hold the fabric with just a thin piece of wood. As you can see, galvanized screws everywhere. Holds the fabric for it not to move around, because if we move around it starts breaking the fabric. Some few paneling. This is just for the dogs, because the dogs like to break in. Even when we were building it, the dogs broke into the greenhouse. These things are good because you can interlock them inside of each other, and then the dogs can't even scratch in. Here's a nice view over the whole greenhouse. It's a good greenhouse. Alright. As you guys can see, some of the tomatoes, like these ones, it's down here. Some of these tomatoes, like these ones, aren't doing so great. I'm still trying to figure out why the tomato is going so bad. Because we did have a lot of blight problem. I don't know if that's the main cause of the tomatoes to die off, but like the few ones that are going great, like this is not growing that great, but you can see it has flowers, but it's not pollinated. Normally we figured out last year, because we tried this already last year, we grew a lot of tomatoes, but because when it starts becoming really hot, the tomatoes flowers won't produce any tomato. They'll let the flower fall down. That's why we made this whole structure, to keep the specific area very cool. And we made it with shade cloth so that it can be breathable, so have a lot less fungus growth. What was the idea behind it? Again, it worked for a bit. It worked very well. But there's some few structural things about this greenhouse that if we knew better, if we knew about how to make a greenhouse in the beginning, it would have been way easier. But you learn from your mistakes, I guess. Let me show you. Some of the mistakes is like this cabling. Wait, put you up here. Some of the problems is this cabling. This is galvanized wires. It runs through the whole greenhouse. I got 4 in total. That's where I hold these tomahawk hooks to hold up the tomatoes. So like these hooks are very strong, but because the tomatoes are so heavy, they keep pulling, and then they started bowing this wood. So to counteract that, I had to put 2x4s through the length of the whole greenhouse to keep it from bowing. It helped a lot, and now we don't have problem with bowing. But it's something, if we build the end wall just like the other one, the main one, just double wooding, and with this type of structure, it would hold a lot better. It still would have a chance to bow, but the chance is way lower than how we built it right here, because there's only one beam just length. But yeah, we reinforced it. I think it's gonna hold for a few years. I also wanted to show the planting of tomatoes. You guys can see this is a new row of completely of tomatoes. It's like 10 I just transplanted yesterday. I wanted to show the video on how I do it, but the video got corrupted, and there's a part of the video you don't see really the plants. But I'll dig the soil, I'll put the root bound, I'll cover it back with this soil. The only thing extra I'll do, I'll use some some type of vermicompost, some worm castings. I'll put it down to help just ease into the growth of the tomato. I will remove all the bottom stems, the few first leaves, so that when it starts growing, the main stem will also send up some few roots. It won't send up much, but just a little bit will help the plant to get a little bit sturdier. And you can see this one's already turned flower. So yeah, the tomahawk hook works like this. You got a little hook. You put it in, you hold on the wires, and this wire you take it out, and then you spin it around the plant, all the way down, and that will support the plant for it not to fall. And then you can keep growing upwards. There are better systems out there, but for the time being, this works perfectly fine for me. It doesn't have to be so complicated to grow tomatoes, so I'm just gonna keep using this hook, tomahawk hook. I do have a lot, so it doesn't matter for me to buy any other system. And it's cheap, it works. What more can I ask? I use drip tape. I have 3 lines going through all the plants. This waters every other day. I put it around 20 minutes, and it's enough to water all the plants. Because tomatoes like to get a dry cycle and then a water cycle for them to produce well. If they're always in water, they don't like it, and you will start seeing protests of the tomatoes. And these are the new ones. I do also have some experimental cucumbers. They already have some few cukes on top of it. You can see one there. This one already got pollinated. This already got pollinated. If you can see it, yeah. It's just for me to get experimental, for me to figure out if I can grow them in a big scale again. And in the greenhouse, it's way easier to grow these because the climate is very stable. Yeah. That's kind of the overview of the greenhouse. Oh yeah, one more thing before we close up. On one of the sides of the greenhouse and one side of the top part, I have foggers that I'm using to keep the greenhouse even cooler than it normally is. You can see here, there's a fogger, and I got for each, because there's 4 sections of the greenhouse, that's how it's built. Each one has one fogger, and a little bit offset from that, there's one on top too. So if you can see it right there, that's another fogger. Will also push air down. The only reason we use it is just to keep the greenhouse as cool as possible so that we can produce tomatoes a lot. Again, this tomato house produced quite a lot, but because of some of the issues with the new growth, and I don't know, we're gonna play around with the new shade cloth put on top to try to figure out if we can lower the temperature more, if the heat is too much for the tomatoes, so that we can grow again some more tomatoes. This system works very efficiently, but sometimes when you forget about a little bit on your schedules of fertilization, because they're high producing varieties, they need a lot of fertilizer, they need constant fertilizer, and they need, at the exact time they need it. So I was a bit busy and I didn't keep up with it, so that's why some of the plants died, and I didn't keep up with the diseases, also the tomatoes. Tomatoes also have a lot of diseases, and you gotta keep on top of it. If you don't, you get plants like this. You can see there's a combination of blight. Some white flies also attack this one. Tomato plants are highly productive. You can get a lot out of it, but you have to be on time with fertilization. You gotta keep the pest management, the pests at your bay. You have to keep the pests controlled, and so then you don't get much of a problem with tomatoes. But overall, tomatoes grow great. It's a high in demand because a lot of people want it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to figure out these tomato plants back. to make them a high producing crop. I think some few changes is only needed for them to start producing again. I'm already starting back with a new plants. This is what you can see in the overview with the whole system. So a row, another row, here's the third row, and this is the new row that's coming up with new tomatoes. You can see the majestic greenhouse. It's the majestic and the sunrise. There's always the little details that you just keep fine-tuning every year to make it a bit better. But this greenhouse, if I produce a lot. I'm surprised, I'm happy about the greenhouse. It's a good size. The only little detail is kind of annoying. If you're gonna make this with all the standardization, because that was the idea to make this standardized, I'll make the greenhouse just a bit longer. Because this is 13 meters, my beds are 12.2, but I need little spacing at the end, at the front and the end, so that I can cross over and walk through to the other side. But that's enough. So most of the equipment I use in here, I can't reuse because it's built for this system. And it's not standardized to all my products, to my field. So that's something to keep in mind, to just make it a bit bigger so that you can keep using the same products that you normally use on the field, and so that you don't have to cut twice and lose materials. That's just something to remember. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. This is a small update on the lettuce. I decided to remove it because I needed the landscape fabric to move to the other side. Otherwise I can't plant it into the dirt. I can't plant it without getting a lot of weeds. So I removed the lettuce. I planted the spinach. I made a tunnel for that too with misters and drip tape. It's looking very well. It's gonna be in a few other days' video. Remember, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and that little bell. Just hit that little bell to get notified every time I post a new video. This is something new for me to keep doing this. I'm gonna see how far I can keep doing this, because right now I'm gonna start back to work. I'm happy I have work. See you guys next time. Bye. Don't forget to hit the like button and pasa un buen día.